Number 10, 1959 Coupe de Ville. These monsters are not for everyone, but when you ask someone, what's a Cadillac? Chances are one of these tankers will come to mind. The 1959 Cadillac continued Cadillac's aeronautic design ethos. They debuted in 1948, and it reached fevered, if not, in my opinion, ridiculous heights for 1959. Legend has it these were in response to Chrysler's 1957 models that GM executives deemed so handsome and cutting edge, they redesigned all their planned 1959 models. And the 59 Cadillac was part of that hastily restyled lineup that many believe, and I concur, are perhaps the craziest and most outlandish domestic designs of all time. As far as Detroit goes, the 50s came in like a lamb, but they certainly went out with a bang. Number 9, 2014 ELR. The ELR was technically Cadillac's version of the plug-in hybrid Chevrolet Volt. That's an oversimplification, and I don't have time to go into details, nor do I think this is the place to do that either. Cadillac only built these in 2014 and 2016. Yeah, they took a siesta on production in 2015. Now, with plug-in hybrids, the vehicles run exclusively on electric power until the battery runs down, and then an internal combustion engine kicks in to run a generator to recharge the battery. Although there's regenerative charging, you can charge the battery by plugging it in, but it can take over 12 hours to get a full charge. Forget to plug it in. With a plug-in hybrid, that's not the nail-biter exclusively electrics would be. Figuring out what gas mileage would be with plug-in hybrids is vexing, but the EPA estimates mileage up to 90 miles per gallon, but it's more like less than 40? Again, vexing. Will the real-world gas mileage numbers please stand up? And then again, this car's not on this list because it's a plug-in hybrid or runs on whiskey. I just like it because I think it's one of the coolest-looking Cadillacs of all time. Biggest problem with the ELR was its cost. Cadillac stickered the 2014s at a scooch under $76,000, more than $35,000 more than Chevrolet charged for a Volt. That and some people have a problem with it having only 2 doors. I, of course, do not. The 16s were 10 grand less, but it mattered little. In the end, Cadillac sold less than 3,000 Volts. Again, what a shame. Number 8, 2007 Escalade EXT. The notion of a luxury truck still makes as much sense to me as sweat socks and sandals, but Cadillac's version of the Chevrolet Avalanche always struck a chord with me. Not sure why, but they did. Then again, I'm from Long Island, and when I grew up, no one drove a pickup truck as a daily driver. What are you, a farmer or something? A pickup truck man I am not, so what do I know anyway? Cadillac rolled these out with their answer to the Ford Motor Company's freakishly popular Lincoln Navigator that debuted in 1998 for model year 2002. These didn't sell anywhere near as well as the regular Escalade, can't imagine why, but if you're looking for something different, like a Coupe de Ville is to a Sedan de Ville, the EXT gave it to you in buckets of luxuriousness and usefulness. GM pulled production of both the Escalade EXT and the Chevrolet Avalanche after 2013. Number 7, 1976 Seville. I was mortified when I heard that Cadillac was coming out with a model based on the Chevrolet Nova back in the mid-70s. I mean, what was next? A Cadillac with a 4-cylinder engine? Then they came out with these things and all was forgiven. Well, for the most part. Cadillac's response to the growing tide of German imports washing ashore that by the early to mid-70s were beginning to erode their sales, despite sharing much DNA with the Nova and its Pontiac Oldsmobile and Buick brethren, that would be the Ventura, Omega, and Skylark, respectively, and being GM's most expensive model, they sold well and proved to Detroit that America was ready for smaller cars. Now, these are far from perfect, but as far as a smaller Cadillac went, Cadillac did a great job in the days before the official downsizing epoch kicked in 1977. Number 6, 1979 Eldorado. These cars had literal and figurative big brake shoes to fill when they debuted in 1979, and Cadillac, in my opinion, over-delivered. These were very popular. Despite being almost 2 feet shorter, almost 9 inches less wide, and about a half-ton lighter, remarkably, these cars offered more genuinely usable interior and trunk space than the boats they replaced. Meanwhile, still being pure Cadillac, whatever that means. Stay away from the diesels and the HT 4100 cars made after 1982. Even the Buick V6 available in 1981 and 1982 was a better engine choice. 1979 and 1980 Eldorados are the sweet spots. Personally, with the fuel-injected Oldsmobile engines, I think the 79s are better than the 80s. Again, stay away from the diesels and the HT 4100s. Cadillac sold these through 1985 before they jumped the shark with the Eldorado in 1986, but that's a tale of woe for another day. Number 5, 1967 Eldorado. Few post-war cars combined Rat Pack, cool, and at the time, cutting-edge engineering like the 1967 Cadillac Eldorado. Front-wheel drive automobiles weren't even a novelty in the 1960s. They were all but unknown in this country. General Motors had originally planned to use it on an intermediate-sized vehicle at first, where frankly with its interior packaging efficiency it makes more sense, but with its complexity and cost to manufacture, they decided it best to be featured on their full-size luxury coupes that they could charge more for. I find these cars so handsome that their styling all but overshadows what's under its sheet metal. This is GM styling honcho Bill Mitchell and his team at their absolute finest, and it shows in every freshly pressed, sharply creased line. Cadillac built these through 1970 and turned them into a comical parade float from 1971 to 1978 before it got sucked into the great downsizing vortex in 1979. Number 4, 1957 Eldorado Brougham. These were Cadillac's response to the Ford Motor Company's Continental Mark II. Although, whereas the Continental Mark II was a coupe only, the Eldorado Brougham looked like a coupe, but it was actually a 4-door hardtop. To keep the handsome coupe dimensions and profile, if not appearance, of the 2-door Eldorado, Cadillac hinged the rear doors on the C-pillar, or the rear post, so they could open out, enabling rear passengers to enter and exit the car more easily. They're also referred to as suicide doors, given that if, in theory, the doors are open when the car is moving, rear seat passengers could easily jump out. The 1957 Eldorado Brougham featured a number of industry firsts that don't seem like such a big deal today, but during the second Eisenhower administration, they most certainly were. Quad headlights, automatic headlight dimming, and the first domestic car to feature an air suspension system, and it even self-leveled. All this technical gee-whiz enveloped in a unique, handsome, and very expensive package. Cadillac sold just 704 Eldorado Broughams in 1957 and 1958 combined. Number 3, 2004 XLR. Imagine, if you will, that instead of basing their 1980s Alante on the then-current and stubby Eldorado, had Cadillac based it on the then-current 4th-generation Chevrolet Corvette. But they didn't, and the Cadillac Alante has gone down in history as somewhat of a joke, but from 2004 through 2011, Cadillac did the right thing by us Roadster fans, and they draped a unique body they drew up over the foundation of a 6th-generation Corvette built alongside the C6 in Bowling Green, Kentucky. The XLR had a unique fiberglass body, interior, and, my opinion, unfortunately, its own engine. That being Cadillac's Northstar V8 engine, rather than the Corvette engine. These were pricey, very niche-y, and Cadillac didn't sell many of them. But oh, how cool they are. Number 2, 1930 V16 Roadster. The Cadillac V16, also known as the Cadillac 16, was Cadillac's top-of-the-line model from its January 1930 launch until 1940. The V16-powered car was a first in the United States, both extremely expensive and exclusive, with every chassis being custom-finished to order. Only 4,076 were constructed in its 11-year run, with the majority built in its debut year before the Great Depression took stronghold. The onset of World War II reduced the sales, resulting in its demise. It was, however, at least 3 times cheaper than the Bugatti Royale, only 6 of those were ever made. Great Gatsby style and 16 cylinders? Need to know anything more? Number 1. 1949 Coupe de Ville. When I was a kid, I was generally not the biggest fan of cars made before 1960, cars before 1955 in particular, and especially something before 1950. I thought swoopy, too-tall cars like this looked like set pieces in The Godfather. They were quaint and old-timey looking. In fairness, many of them were. There's a timelessness, though, to these Cadillacs that I've come to be very fond of. Its balance and proportions are perfect. It's subtly elegant and oozes class and panache in ways few other cars ever made have. The 1949 Coupe de Ville was Cadillac's first hardtop, meaning it has a fixed roof, but with no center pillar or post, it emulated a convertible with its canvas roof up. Cadillac didn't come with another design I find remotely as compelling until 1957. Well, there you have it, my top 10 list of the coolest Cadillacs of all time. Thanks for watching. Please feel free to comment below, like, and subscribe.